The Run Lift Mom podcast is now knocking on its third season and has over 50,000 downloads. Thank you so much for being part of this. It's brought to you by my personal efforts as a Zaya independent representative. If you want to get on my New Release Wednesday text message, yeah, you heard me right, I'm going to send the new releases straight to your phone each Wednesday so you can get off social media and have more time for running, lifting, and momming. Just go to newreleasewednesday.com, that's newreleasewednesday.com, and I'll get you on the list. Welcome to the Run Lift Mom podcast, where we're talking about running, lifting, and momming, not necessarily in that order. My guest today loves to run and lift, but we are going to talk all about momming because people are starting to travel. But you have little ones, and we want to give you some great tips. Dr. Sarah Mitchell is a chiropractor by training, but found her true calling as a sleep consultant when her first baby would not sleep. Since 2013, she has helped parents teach their little ones to sleep so they can enjoy their parenting journey. She is the owner of Helping Babies Sleep, and she does one-on-one sleep coaching consults there. She also runs Helping Babies Sleep School online. Dr. Sarah is awesome, you guys. She is a proud member of the Society of Behavioral Sleep Medicine. She's also contributing to research at San Jose State University on the efficacy of sleep coaching and the effective sleep teaching on maternal anxiety. Awesome, right? She's originally from Canada. Dr. Sarah currently lives in the San Francisco Bay Area with her husband, son, and daughter. She wants you to know that you can be loving, attached, and well-rested. And without further ado, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. All right, welcome, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, to the Run Lift Mom podcast. So glad to have you here.
Such a pleasure to be here. I'm so inspired by everything you do to help lift other moms up. I'm really glad to be here today.
Well, I love bringing you on because, of course, we are all thinking about our travel. It's a little bit later in the season than maybe we would have liked, but we're thinking about travel right now. But we've got the littles. And so you are going to help us travel better with our littles in terms of sleep and rest so that it turns into a vacation and not a trip. Can I get you, though, to tell me how you came to be an expert in this area?
Absolutely. So I'm a chiropractor by training, and I was fully prepared to face motherhood. I felt overconfident. I had actually booked a Pilates class for 3 weeks postpartum. That's how confident I was. And I'm sure you can imagine that I clearly didn't make it to that class. Had some traumatic birth experiences, took a long time to recover. And then I had this little guy who just wouldn't sleep. And I was just shocked that with all the healthcare knowledge that I had, that I couldn't get him to sleep. And then I was shocked by all the differing opinions, judgment that went along with getting your little one to sleep. To make a long story short, I eventually got him to sleep. I researched everything academically about sleep, got him sleeping, had a second baby, got her sleeping from day one, following all the principles that I'd learned. And I just had a huge passion for empowering other parents to get on the same track. It's kind of Freudian, really, because every time I'm helping somebody, I'm really saving my postpartum anxiety-ridden self, so many years ago. And I've always loved sleep in general, and I'm doing exactly what I was meant to be doing and connecting in a meaningful way with parents and helping them with it's their first obstacle on their parenting journey. It's not the last, it's just the first. And it's almost, it's not just about the sleep even, it's figuring out who you thought you'd be as a parent and who you thought your kiddo would be too. So
what a great point. It occurs to me that every time and I mean just society in general, we greet a new mom and we say, how are they sleeping? Like, that's the first thing we ask. And probably in our sleep-deprived state, managing all the things to include rest can be a bit overwhelming.
Absolutely. And I say frequently, how good of a sleeper your baby is not a measure of how, quote unquote, good of a parent you are. You just haven't quite figured out what your little one needs yet.
I love that. We needed that reminder. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about travel. I've brought you here, Dr. Mitchell, to talk specifically about, like, if we're going out of town and we know our little one is going to be in a different environment, what are some things that we can do to set ourselves up for success?
Yeah. So the first thing is watching the timing of sleep. So that's the most important thing. Sleep begets sleep. So if your little one gets overtired, it's harder to get them to fall asleep and then stay asleep, right? You know,
Mm.
putting kids to bed later does not make them sleep in. I'm sure anyone listening knows that well already. Okay, so the first thing is timing, making sure that we're watching those windows to nail that. The second thing is, can you create the scenario that's similar to home? So do you, with little ones, like, do you bring their sleep sack? Do they have a lovey? Do you have a travel crib sheet that goes in every pack and play that you stay in,
Mm.
but it's the same one from home, so they recognize that, right? So bringing the items from home can be very helpful. Recreating your bedtime routine, just as you do at home, right? And maybe if you're new in a new environment, like an Airbnb bedroom or your in-laws, you might spend more time having that closure time as part of your bedtime routine. Maybe you do 4 books tonight instead of 2 books, giving them a little bit more time to get used to that scenario, right?
I love
The
that. So
key,
as we're packing too, I want to make note there. As we're packing, I know you guys love to travel light, but making sure that you're taking those comfort items from home as part of the
Mhm.
packing list in thinking about that sleep routine.
Absolutely. And, you know, my kids are now 7 and 9. So back in the day, we would bring like the full monitor because that's what had our white noise thing on it. But it was
Mhm.
worth every square inch that it took up because it had the noise, it had the monitor. I could be in a different room. Like it was worth it.
What are some other items? So as we're making these packing lists, so you reminded me of, oh man, like my son has Bunny and Bunny has to go everywhere. What are some
Yeah.
other things that we might bring from home to make that outside sleep environment more comfortable for our littles?
Yeah, absolutely. So light is a really big issue, right? Especially people always want to have their kids be able to sleep anywhere. And that's a lovely idea. But the thing is, it's really unique to your little person. So some kids
Mm.
sleep through all the noises and some don't. Some are more sensitive than others. That's just the way it is. It's really a hard thing to train. So to be prepared to be able to black out your room wherever you're staying, just like you do at home. Hotels are amazing because they usually come with blackout curtains already. But when you get into people's houses, it can differ. So I think we're going to link to a pleated blackout shade that's on Amazon. They're disposable and you can cut them to the length of the window to really black it out. I think that's like one of the most important factors, and you can get your biggest bang for your buck with blackout curtains.
I love this. And listeners, you can either click where it says details or swipe up. It's going to depend on the player that you're in. But Dr. Mitchell has provided all of these great links, and those blackout curtains are one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Second thing is like white noise. So a lot of people use white noise already. I just use it as a way of blocking out household noises, right? And again, some kids are more sensitive to that than others, but I don't think it's actually something that you play all night long. I just kind of find that a little bit unnatural for some reason. That's just my own personal thing. It's not bad if you're doing it. So, but if you're going to be in a busy place, like, can you bring white noise to block out household noises? Because you're still going to want to get your little ones down around the same time. Yes, you might have one night that they stay up later, and that could be the exception. Where you get into trouble is when you keep having them stay up too late. That's when you start getting into like more night waking and those 5 a.m. wake ups because they're overtired. Okay. So white noise to help block out environmental noises. And you can use, white noise on your phone, or there's different products out there as well that you could use.
Wonderful.
Another product, we talked about pack and plays, right? So how light do you want to travel? This is one of the questions. So I always just use the hotel pack and play because I hate lugging that thing around. It's so heavy. But there is a really great pack and play from Lotus, the guava, that has a zipper on the side. So you can fold the side down and then you can lie beside your little one on the floor. And the reason I like that is, some kids can be more thrown off in a new environment than other kids. Again, it really depends on your little one. There's no, written rule about that. But I like being then able to be close to them, but they're still in that pack and play, right? So I can reach in and keep my hand on them and stroke their face, stroke the lovey on their face, help them calm down in this place. But it's not like they're out of the pack and play in my arms or on the hotel bed, which is a harder thing then to get them into that crib once they've fallen asleep. And then when we move kids when they're asleep, everybody wakes up in the night, all humans. So they wake up and they're like, hey, this isn't where I was. And I'm going to cry to see if I can get back into that hotel bed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like this pack and play where you can zip the side. It's one more thing to bring, but it can be really useful.
I love that suggestion. And again, guys, this is linked. It reminds me too, if they've got that lovey or that bunny stuffed animal or something inside with them, yes, they wake up, they're in a weird spot, but they've got that comfort item from home.
Exactly.
Oh, that is wonderful. Can you talk to us a little bit about, you mentioned, of course, the boundary that you need to set for your own sleep. What type of expectations should we have? So let's say, we hit it out of the park. We take that comfort item. We get the guava. We, try to mimic the same timing in terms of go down and bedtime routine. Does that mean perfect sleep all week long?
Oh my God, Susie, I love this question. No, not necessarily, right? These are little dynamic human beings. There's so much going on. They're more stimulated during the day. So even the best of sleepers can be disrupted while you're traveling. And often it's kids who are used to sleeping in their dark, solo bedroom. And now they're in a hotel room with you and they can see you and they pop up in the middle of the night and there she is. I wonder if she'll come get me if I cry. And how much they'll cry or protest really, again, is related to your child's temperament. So I remember vividly with my daughter who had a lovely temperament after my son. Oh, and that's the other thing. I think that Mother Nature will give you one that gives you confidence and another one that will keep you humble, right? Like, I don't know if you're out there, you've got 4 to choose from. I don't know. What do you think? Right? You can tell
I absolutely agree. And you know what? I'm in well over 100 episodes of Run Lift Mom. So I have a lot of mamas to compare this with. And I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Well, thank you. I that's what I'm seeing in my practice as well, in my own life. So my daughter she was much more malleable, the second one, but I still remember vividly her being like 14 months and we're in a hotel room and her standing there seeing me at like 5:01 in the morning. And she normally sleeps till 6:30. I'm like, oh, please go back to sleep. Please go back to sleep. But she was just not having anything to do with it because now she's distracted that she can see me. So what am I going to do? Am I going to just like disrupt everyone else's sleep because she's awake? No, I got her up. Luckily, the pool was open, so we went for a swim at 5:15. And yes, I know we're going to have a bigger nap or an earlier nap that day, and we'll have to work that out so she doesn't get overtired. But the truth is, Susie, and I'm sure you will agree with me on this, when you're traveling, you do what you have to do to survive, right?
Yes.
If you need to get her up, if you have to pull her into bed with you, so be it. If you have to nurse back to sleep, even though you haven't been doing that, so be it. Because you know that when you come home into your consistent environment, you'll be able to reinforce the skills that your child had, assuming they're a pretty good sleeper already, and get them back on track. And when you're traveling, is it a vacation or is it a trip? I think it's more of a trip, but you will, do what you have to do to survive.
Can you speak to something, we're talking about focusing on what you can control in terms of the environment and what you pack and everything. Can you speak to time zones? Like, for example, I'm in North Carolina right now and you are in sunny California, right? So like, what if I came to see you for the weekend, knowing that time zone difference is 3 hours? What's your recommendation there?
So remember that it takes your body 1 day to adjust to 1 hour in time zone change. Okay. So here in North America, that 3 hours, it's the hardest when you're traveling from east to west. Because if you came to my house, your kids who get up at 6, it's now 3 a.m. Okay.
Right.
And that can be hard to break. Now, when you're traveling from west to east, so if, my little one was getting up at 6 in the morning, that's 9 o'clock on the East Coast time. That's doable. I might not even try and change her off of that schedule, right?
Okay.
But what would happen naturally because of the sun is she would start to wake up a little bit earlier each day, probably. Okay. And that will naturally just shift her schedule earlier. So that's easy. The hardest is coming from east to west. And for Pacific people, like it's the same idea from going from California to Hawaii. My 6 a.m. wake up is now 3 a.m. What do I do? And that's where late day naps can kind of come in handy to help shift that schedule. So your little one is probably going to be super pooped by 5 o'clock at night. And what do you do? Is that bedtime? Right? And maybe you let them have a little cat nap between 4:30 and 5:30, and you try and keep them up to 8:30. And all of these times really depend on their age. So I'm just using them subjectively, right?
Right.
And trying to shift that sleep in time. But naturally it should shift kind of on its own within 3 days. The challenge is just being able to accept that there's things that you can control and things you can't, like you mentioned. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, what I hear you saying is, as we're creating our itineraries for travel, like let's say, for example, the Goodwins are going to go, see Disneyland. We want to take in that 3-day rule into account as we're creating our agenda.
Yes, absolutely. And as far as travel times, I always advise to travel in the morning. Even if you have to wake them up at 5 to get them on a plane, I still feel like kids are in a better disposition than for the average kid, trying to do like a red eye or putting them in an airport at 7 o'clock. Like they are just done by that point. And usually they've had a whole day of anticipating going on a plane and they are just like fried. So I definitely recommend traveling in the morning.
What a great tip. I appreciate it, Sarah. I'm definitely, we talk about before we record, what we're going to talk about. So for the listener out there, I want you to know that Sarah is really good at the rapid fire. And I'm going to throw a few unrelated to travel and littles at you as well. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, and shame on me because the first is related to travel. Where is one of your favorite places to travel?
Hawaii, without a doubt. But I've been dreaming about Hawaii. We were supposed to go in May, and of course we didn't go because of COVID. And somehow over the pandemic, I've been like roped into watching TikTok, and there's all these beautiful Hawaii travel waves. I just can't stop watching them. So it's totally in my mind. So I love Hawaii. Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with TikTok fandom there. But of course, that algorithm is going to show you what you want to see. So you keep watching Hawaii. Girl, you're going to keep getting Hawaii. Speaking of, so in addition to TikTok, where's your favorite place to hang out on social and plug yourself?
Oh, well, I'm absolutely on Instagram, giving out all kinds of helpful tips at helping babies sleep. And TikTok, my feed is Hawaii babies and puppies pretty much right now.
I love that. Okay. So listeners of this show know that I am a fan of pink in all shades. Do you prefer blush pink or hot pink?
Absolutely hot pink. And if you can see me right now, I just grabbed my running sunglasses that were right beside me, and these are called Flamingo on a Booze Cruise. Is the actual
Are they
name of
Gooders?
these sunglasses. They're Gooders, yes.
I am going to take a screenshot image of that and put that into the show notes. So listeners, click detail or swipe up, and you're going to see me in my hot pink sports bra and Dr. Mitchell in her hot pink Gooder glasses. That is awesome. Tell me, do you prefer ice cream or gelato?
Ice cream all the way. Haagen-Dazs caramel cone right now.
My people. And then finally, it cannot be a sleep-related academic book, okay? What is your favorite book to gift to someone else?
Ooh.
I find you health professional types love to give like medical journals to people. And so I've got to cut you off there.
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely. There's a few. So right now I'm kind of into like this whole self-development phase. So I just read Glennon Doyle's Untamed book. Have you heard of that book?
Yes.
Yeah. So that one, I would gift that one right now. I think it's pretty powerful.
Awesome. I will link to that as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Listeners, I have got so much great stuff for you in the show notes. Again, you're going to click details or swipe up. I appreciate you coming, giving us your sleep tips, and I'll remind people that like sleep training in general, whether you've got an itinerary booked or not, Dr. Mitchell can help you out. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's been a pleasure. I've had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. You guys, she knocked it out of the park telling us how to prepare for our trips, as well as how to operate that sleep schedule while we're there, travel tips on when to book and what to expect on sleep patterns as well. Thank you so much. You guys, Dr. Sarah Mitchell is on a mission to change the dialogue away from sleep training to sleep teaching. She wants to empower parents, and that is exactly what she has done here today in the realm of travel, teaching us not to fish, but to sleep. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Until I get into your earpiece again, remember, for while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. That's from 1 Timothy 4:8, and this has been the Run Lift Mom podcast. Hey, Run Lift Mom listeners, you know I'm the mom of 4 kids under age 5, and therefore I am always looking for ways to work smart, not hard. Anchor is the smartest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you why. First of all, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, but Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so then it can be heard on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole lot more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is quite literally everything you need all in one place. And y'all, it's free. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you for listening to the Run Lift Mom podcast. This began as a passion project in February 2019, and now, you guys, it is legit my favorite thing to do each week. Record with the guests that come on Run Lift Mom, and then share their knowledge and expertise with you. I love this. I have done a lot of things right with this show. The thing that I've done wrong, I haven't asked you to rate, review, and subscribe enough. You guys, this is how other people find the show. So please do me a solid, rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you for being a listener of Run Lift Mom.